Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the comparison between the Canon EF 200mm f2L IS USM versus the EF 70-200mm f2.L IS II USM. $5,500 versus $1,500. Thanks a lot to Mandy, my favorite Asian girl, Canon Germany and gm-foto for supporting me with this review. The EF 200mm lens comes with a solid suitcase to protect it from any kind of scratches, while the 70-200mm lens comes in a small bag. A lens hood is part of any L lens by Canon. Don't lose the one of the 200mm lens, since it will cost you $500 to replace it. On top of both lenses you have a distance indication, and on the side lots of switches for the autofocus and different kind of image stabilizer modes. The autofocus ring of both lenses is great for filming while focusing manually. If you plan to go on a trip, nothing easier than that, since they are both protected against dust and splash. The 200mm lens weighs 2500 grams and the 70-200mm version just 1500 grams or 53 ounces. In terms of workmanship, you get what you pay for. Top lenses, made for everyday use and harsh working conditions. Both lenses feel good, and even the 200mm does not really stand out with its 2500 grams. The 70-200mm lens uses a 77mm filter thread. It seems to be clear that you cannot attach a filter to the 200mm lens. However, you can make use of a 52mm drop-in filter in case you need one. The solid lens hood will protect the lens, hopefully. Both lenses have a tripod clip that can be rotated 360 degrees. Let's start with the weaknesses of both lenses. Sometimes you see more, sometimes even less flares using both lenses. Neither is better or worse than the other. It mainly depends on the angle, if you're getting more or less flares onto your camera sensor. There are some chromatic aberrations using both lenses. At some edges you will spot some color fringes. Make use of Adobe Lightroom to handle this within a few seconds. Let's speak about vignetting. In general, you can spot more dark edges at 200mm than at 70mm. At f2.8 you can spot less vignetting using the widest field of view and more with less field of view. The fixed 200mm focal length has the same amount of vignetting at f2 than the 70-200mm at f2.8. Both have the same performance at f5.6 with almost no vignetting at all. Both lenses are extremely sharp, also shooting wide open. In general, I would say that at f2 and f2.8 the center is super crisp. The corners surely benefit from stopping down to f5.6 to approximately f8. I wouldn't deal too much with this topic, since both lenses are extremely sharp. Make up your own mind with some example images from the video description below. At the end of this day we went to Frankfurt East to test the autofocus of both lenses in combination with the Canon EOS R. Face tracking was enabled and Mandy was at focus at 90% of the time. I have to say that the 200mm version lost the subject sometimes, whereas the 70-200mm kept track of Mandy also while she was turning around. I also noticed that the 200mm version was much louder, if this means something to you. If you consider getting one of these lenses for sport photography, I would say that the fixed focal length is slightly better for low light scenes in the stadium than the 70-200mm version. It can be noticeable for your daily work. More money means more bokeh, at least in this case. It made so much fun to blur out the background using the 200mm lens. You will notice a difference between f2.8 and f2. If you don't care about money and weight, the 200mm version is the better choice in this case, thanks to Julia and Mandy. I think that the 70-200mm version is better for daily use. It is compact, weightless, and compared to the 200mm version, it allows you to get as close as 1.2 meters or 4 feet to your subjects, while the 200mm version requires more distance in between. You need to step back by 1.9 meters or 6.2 feet to focus. The results look great on both lenses. So which lens makes more sense to buy? They are both great for portraits, sports, wedding and filming. I would rather go for a 400mm lens while spotting wildlife instead of 200mm. A big point is the price. Well, $1,500 versus $5,500 is a huge difference. The 70 to 200mm lens has a slower aperture, weighs less, gives you more flexibility to zoom and costs less. If money doesn't play a big role in your life and you want to get the best bokeh shots using a fast aperture and you are strong enough to carry more weight with you, then the 200mm lens would make sense as well. Be aware that the safest way to carry the fixed focal length with you would only be in the extra designed case. If you earn your money with photography and filming, I guess the 200mm lens is a great choice, while most people probably don't want to spend that much for a lens with less flexibility. Let's get to the end now. Both lenses are great in terms of build quality and performance. There's not much of a difference. Ask yourself if you can afford the fixed focal length and if it makes sense for your work. Of course, you have a faster aperture, a softer bokeh, and you need to carry more weight with you in an extra case. The 70 to 200mm version gives you more flexibility, it costs less and weighs less. I guess it fits better in most camera bags as well, compared to the 200mm version. I'm really happy to hear your feedback if you are using any of these lenses and for what. All the gear I used is listed in the video description below, so as some example files for you. Thanks to gm-foto, Canon Germany, Mandy and Julia, all the best from Frankfurt. Bye bye!